Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 143. This is Under Review coming at you live with episode 170.
Got another doozy inbound. We're going to do some ripping on ESPN just because it's what needs to be said right now. So we just going to go through and tear ESPN apart real quick, and then that's going to be the content.
It's going to be journalism in full force from here Under Review. But as usual, we only bring you facts and nothing but the truth. So just tune in for a little bit of us just letting you know what's going on in the sports media world. But starting us off, Stat of the Week, brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics. History was made this past weekend at the Masters tournament as Rory McIlroy won his first Masters, cementing his career Grand Slam, meaning he has won all four majors in his career. He is the sixth player in the history of golf to do that. So he kind of cemented himself up there as one of the greatest of all time. He's been pretty consistent for a long time now, but his first major win in 11 years, a lot of people were saying he wasn't going to be able to do it. In fact, he almost lost it for himself on Sunday, but he didn't in the end. So just congrats to Rory McIlroy breaking through. The career Grand Slam is not something you get to see very often. A lot of people are saying it's one of the greatest the greatest Masters Sunday they've ever seen, and I'm like, Tiger definitely blew that. Let's chill out. It's kind of like the LeBron stuff. So I'm like, no, with that stuff, but. Hey, regardless, congratulations to Rory. Phenomenal finish on Sunday, and he's a part of history now.
Mm-hmm. Just the recency bias getting the best of everyone, as it does always with this new generation, just these people that don't know what they're talking about.
Nope.
Your player of the week, Tyler Soderstrom, who is the Oakland A's, no longer the Oakland A's, the Sacramento A's, as they are these days. He is their first baseman, and he leads the league with 8 home runs, batting .328 with 17 RBIs. So he has been tearing it up, and we're getting into a good bit of the season where we're seeing a decent sample size. So congrats to Tyler Soderstrom.
You ever heard of him before now?
Yes. I
hadn't. So congrats to Tyler. Rangers are playing him next week, so I'm sure he'll hit a few more.
I guess the only reason I would have known who he was is because he played for the A's, and so seeing those divisional games. But other than that,
I don't really pay attention to who's on the A's. If I'm being honest with you.
Well, because we play them in divisional play, so that's.
I don't look at their roster beforehand because they were so bad recently.
But anyways, congrats to Tyler Soderstrom. Not a lot to be grateful for as an A's fan, so you got to take these victories when you can get them.
Hey, he's ripping them. He's killing them right now. So that's cool because the Rangers can't hit for diddly squat right now. So it is just it's a famine out there in Arlington. But moving on to what we're actually talking about, the ESPN is ending their 35-year relationship with the MLB starting at the end of this season. Just some background on it. Like I said, they've been in agreement for 35 years. The contract was going to expire in 2028, but they're going to terminate it after this season. The negotiations for a new deal failed. ESPN was asking for lower fees and rates, which, there's no league right now that's going for lower. They're all selling for higher. And basically, ESPN just signed a $2.7 billion deal with the NBA to have their TV rights. And so they don't really have, and they have the deal with the NFL and the NHL. They just they don't feel like baseball is getting the viewership, and so they're cutting it. Nick, how do you feel about that?
Well, people are just losers these days and just have no concept of anything. So we just have a lot of complainers, okay? And what it is it's people whose brains are too small to understand and comprehend the game of baseball. They say it's too slow and it's too boring, and so we've had to have all these rule changes and things put into place to try and boost viewership, but at the end of the day, it's everyone else that's the problem. Okay, and ESPN, I guess they don't see baseball as being a viable cash cow as it would if it were an NFL or an NBA or something else like that. But it's just they just don't. This is America's pastime right here. We're looking at history, and it's just frustrating to see baseball get cast aside because it is. I believe it is my number one sport. I think it's Joseph's number one sport as well.
Yeah, I think ESPN for me has been unwatchable recently in terms of anything other than like the games they have on. But even then, I don't like it anymore when games are on ESPN, except for Monday Night Football because of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But other than that, like, I don't like watching any sports, especially Sunday Night Baseball. I can't stand Sunday Night Baseball because all they want to show, and this is why for them, they're not like getting as many views. All they show are the Phillies, Braves, Dodgers, Yankees, and the Astros occasionally, but like they don't show in the Phillies. They don't show like anybody else on their Sunday Night Baseball games. So, they'll just find these big market teams, and the only teams they talk about on SportsCenter are the Dodgers and the Padres. That's it, and sometimes the Mets. And then they're only focused on the big market teams. They're really only focused on the Dodgers, if I'm being completely honest with you, and that's a huge problem. They're not spreading any of the love. They don't talk about them on their talk shows. All they're doing is focusing on the NBA right now, and actually where the NBA's views have been tanking recently, and I mean tanking. They have not seen this bad of views in a long time for the NBA. The MLB viewership's going up, and ESPN's not capitalizing on that because, let's face it, ESPN, all they care about are politics.
Yeah, just an interesting opinion there, just from everybody on the ESPN side. But it is frustrating even for diehard baseball fans because we're getting fed up too with all these big market teams. Nobody likes to see the Dodgers or Yankees or any of those big franchises. Or I say any of those big. It's really just those two. Nobody wants to see either of those two teams succeed because they spend $1 billion every single year building a roster, and that's who ESPN wants to focus on. But I don't want to see that. I like seeing the teams that have the good farm system that develop their players and, do it that way. Obviously, I understand trades and signings are a part of the game, but it just gets frustrating whenever all ESPN wants to focus on is just Dodgers, Yankees, Dodgers, Yankees.
Well, I think that's part of the reason that they're not getting great viewership on baseball. And it's not the fact that we don't want to see the Dodgers and the Yankees. It's just the fact that we don't want to only see the Dodgers and Yankees. It's like that's all they show, and you get tired of it. And really, all they show is Ohtani. And I've gotten off on a rant about that before. We're not going to start here, but there are, I don't know how many players in the major leagues. I don't want to only see one guy, and that's all your coverage is. So I just think ESPN is really hurting themselves with the baseball stuff, but I honestly think they're really hurting themselves by letting baseball go. For me, as a big baseball fan, I'm happy to see baseball be leaving ESPN, but I think this is a bad thing to see on ESPN's part. But I'm telling you, it's because they sunk so much money into this NBA deal, and the NBA has just been tanking in their stock recently. Like, nobody's watching. It's become no defense, all threes. We've talked about it. The games are not entertaining. The championship's not even entertaining. When Steph and LeBron finally retire, the NBA will be, it'll be unwatchable. It pretty much already is. I just think baseball is really rising, and the games aren't long anymore. They're like 2.5 to 3 hours long. So they're the same length as any normal sporting event.
Mm-hmm. Another thing too is NHL did a great job of marketing this year with their Four Nations face-off, and I think that and baseball came at the right time because the NBA has been getting lots and lots of complaints from their fans and viewers, and both of these, MLB, NHL, did really, really good work on marketing their sport to where all those NBA fans who were getting bored and wanted something else to look at were willing to give, maybe they wanted to give hockey a try, even though they've never watched the sport before. And I'm thinking it's going to kick up even worse, in the coming weeks because playoffs are upon us. We're right there. The NHL season's pretty much over after this weekend, or it is. The regular season's over after this weekend, and I think a lot of those NBA fans are going to be shifted over, and no one's really going to be paying attention to that anymore.
Yeah, I was just reading here. It looks like, a big reason that ESPN's taking baseball off is because of the declining in viewership on Sunday Night Baseball. Well, the thing is, like, all they show is Sunday Night Baseball as well. They don't have any other games aside from, I don't know, like, I guess they might have. Do they have wild card games? I don't even know when it comes to playoffs, but they have the home run derby, but all they have is Sunday Night Baseball. And all they do with Sunday Night Baseball, you see the same two teams play every time. It's a combination of, about the 6 teams that I listed earlier. And, it's not great coverage, where instead you should go find the best matchup at the time that weekend, and you can cover that on Sunday Night Baseball. It's not always going to be the Mets and the Braves, so ESPN's doing this to themselves, but like in their talk shows, they don't talk baseball. All they talk is, they'll talk NFL and NBA, and the NFL is in a league of its own. Nobody's touching the NFL, but when it comes to if they should be keeping baseball or the NBA, I think the decision's pretty clear on which one they should keep. But like I said before, they're all into the politics of it right now, and the NBA is a pretty political league as well. So they go nicely together. But lately, ESPN's viewership on everything has been tanking, except for Monday Night Football. And I think less and less people are getting fed up with the fact that ESPN won't talk about sports anymore. All they talk about is stories, and they make up storylines. It's like when 2 guys have a good game the night before, they want to pit them against each other, whose game was better. And it's like they don't cover the sport, they cover the stories. So, I honestly, good riddance. Like, I think baseball needs
it doesn't matter because ESPN's been on the decline anyway, and so losing baseball or gaining something else is not going to make a difference, because I think the ESPN fans in general have been complaining and whining, ourselves included. So it was bound to happen at some point, but they're losing viewership anyway, so it's not that big of a deal.
I can't even watch SportsCenter without like people's agenda just being shoved in my face. Like they don't even cover. I was watching it a second ago. They showed a couple of baseball games, and none of them were like the Rangers game tonight. None of them were the A's White Sox game. Like they just don't cover the small market games, no matter what happens in them. And all they were showing was the Padres game and the Dodgers game tonight. And there were like 13 other games that were played. So it's a problem. And get it out of here. I just want to watch like unfiltered true baseball. I don't want to watch it. Also, the win probability thing they did last year.
That's annoying to watch. I don't like that. Yeah. It's so stupid, because it's like
they move it every pitch.
I was gonna say, after every single little play, it moves just back and forth, and it's like, okay, this is not. I don't think those are real statistics. They're just making up numbers and throwing it on there.
Yeah, so get baseball out of there.
Anyways, here's like in our shows and under review. Brought to you a quote from Red Smith, who was an American sports writer back in way before our time. And he said, "Baseball is dull only to those with dull minds." And that is the truth.
Ain't that the truth? And ESPN is a pretty dull mind is what that means. So thank you, baseball, for going somewhere else. And we will follow you wherever you go. So thank y'all for tuning in this week. We will see you next week with another episode of Under Review.